Ikizo!
It's the Weird Science DC Comics Absolute DC Show. It's the Weird Science DC Comics Absolute DC Show. So let's go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Absolute DC Comics podcast here at Weird Science. I'm here with my man, Gray. Ikizo, Gray.
Ikizo. How you doing, Jim? Good morning from Japan.
Yes.
Ohio gozaimasu.
Did you have that earthquake yet? Is there a tsunami yet? Oh, my goodness gracious.
My goodness.
You told me that there was a prediction of some crazy disaster on July 5th.
A mega quake.
Yeah, and it was, it was
Sometime
picked
today.
by a manga. Some
A
manga
writer.
writer. Yeah, ended up where she had predicted one other thing, and now solid gold is what they end up
She
saying.
predicted the big one back in 2011, supposedly, Jim. And
Yeah,
now she's saying, I'm not a prophet.
I love that she's just like, don't blame me. Holy
Don't attack me.
Moly. But here we are to talk a little Absolute DC, and we are doing this live, as we always do every Friday night when there's an Absolute book, and I see Jack Halsey is in the chat. Jack is there with Gray by themselves. And I will say that thank you, every listener and viewer on YouTube, for quitting the channel this week. We ended up losing about 8 subscribers this week for whatever reason.
Well, that was me, Jim. Me, my fake account. Sorry.
Well, it might also be me and you getting wacky at the end of every podcast or whatnot.
God.
I don't know. I don't care to figure it out.
I'm wacky. Come on, Wacky Sashi.
Exactly. You're wacky sashi indeed. But here we are to talk a wacky book. We're going to be talking the Absolute Green Lantern. And I'll tell you right now, we did try to do the Absolute Martian Manhunter, and then I got told by so many people that they just would rather us not do it. So then I didn't end up doing it. Got a lot of complaints about that, but you can't win. But we did end up doing it on our Patreon, me and Simon. Though I will say that I still think that Green Lantern, I think I like Green Lantern less than Martian Manhunter. I'm not saying I like the Martian Manhunter deal, but this book is odd. And this might be the best issue, and it's still what's up.
This is the best one for me so far. Yeah, but as you say, it's not saying much, is it? In a weird series.
No, it's a weird series in a way of, you're Al Ewing's being wacky with it. Do we need to be that wacky in these books when you're starting a new series in a new universe that we don't even know the universe, and yet you start out so off balance and wacky that you just don't know what to think? Like usually if we're in the regular, deal, say we're doing, I'd like to say, Marvel, because then I could just say 616, but say you're in the 616. And you want to be wacky, you can, because there's a foundation that you're basing it off of. When you're in a new deal, wacky doesn't work for me because you don't know if things are wacky because of the world, if they're wacky because of something in the actual book. And this is why it drives me nuts with Martian Manhunter as well. When people say, well, don't you get it? Everybody's angry. Everybody's upset. And I'm like, well, is it because it's so hot, they said? Is it because it's a dark side infused world? Is it because this, and this? And when you don't know, you're just left wondering. And in this book, just feels like, again, it's
a real slow burn, isn't it? It's a real slow burn. It's almost like too slow. That's been the problem with it.
Yeah.
As I say, I do like this issue because you finally get some reveals. It's like, oh, okay, but these the different Absolute books, they don't connect, do they, at all?
No,
there's no feeling of an Absolute universe yet.
No. So when you end up getting them, I mean, Batman, you have and people say, oh, you like the big dumb Batman. Well, I kind of get what Batman's about by now. Now, there's more books than that, but I knew what Batman was about. He's about kicking babies. I don't mind that. But again, he's about being a giant Batman. We know that he doesn't have the money he did. The Rogues Gallery are his friends. Like, I have things I can grab onto to say, oh, this is weird because of this. This ended up, but some of these others are just like, okay, like, what is going on? How are we doing this? And how is this? Is this because of the world? Is it because Darkseid? Is it because of... And I just get left like kind of shrugging my shoulders.
Wrong thing,
it
really,
gets shrugging my shoulders in this with the idea of, holy crap, like, why can't you give me something to base off of? All you get is wackiness. Nothing's wackiness because you don't know what's going on. But Here we go. This is going to be quick. It's a very quick issue. And when
It
you
is.
said I do believe it's the best issue of the series, but it also, in my mind, it still doesn't give you what you need to go forward, but it does give you a little bit of answers. But we'll see. It is written by Al Ewing. And again, I say a lot where the Flash book, Flash it's not giving you a ton either. But I like Jeff Lemire myself, so I can say, okay, Jeff Lemire hasn't really ever that much, let me down. I don't like Al Ewing. I'm not a big fan of his. I wasn't even that big a fan of The Immortal Hulk. I got very bored with it. And then at issue 25, when you had that whack-ass issue, I bailed. And then came back like 20 issues later when it was coming to an end to try to, just tie it up or whatever. But it wasn't my favorite deal. But there you go. Janoy Lindsay. I don't like the art. Like, again, some of the parts, I guess, is better because he does art, color, and cover, and Lucas Catoni on letters. You have the assistant editor, Ash Padilla, Andrew Marino, editor, Katie Kubert, group editor, Chris Conroy, executive editor. I think that you might be executive producer.
That's a lot
or
of
something.
editors, Jim.
Yeah,
isn't it?
seriously.
It's like a modern movie with like 200 producers, executive producers.
Legit.
You know what I mean?
Just, wrap your head around this. There are 3 people on the creative team. There's one more editor than there is creatives. You have
Goodness
a writer,
gracious.
an artist, and a letterer. And yet you have 4 editors. Maybe what they should do is crack the whip and get this thing moving. But you start
I want to
out...
shout out Janoy Lindsay because I've kind of complained a little bit in the past. It's not that great. I think this is his best issue as well for the art.
I would
There's still
say
some weird faces, Jim, at times,
Yeah,
aren't there?
yeah.
A couple.
Yeah,
but
there is, yeah.
it's much
But
better, I think.
I think that overall this ends up being, like you said, the better issue. But we're
Yeah.
still starting with Black Hand Hal, who's there, and we're getting, Hal Jordan judgment was made, but penance can be. Penance? You were right. You're always right. Is the truth there for all to see? I'm like, what is going on to then get the Black Star? You're
The
getting
dark
all
circle
these
around
things.
everything.
Yeah,
Jim,
and
come on.
so you're hinting at some things, but not, and it's just like, come on, let's go.
I'm getting
Why?
flashbacks to David Bowie's last
Yeah,
album,
exactly.
Black Star.
Yeah, Black
Goodness
Star.
gracious,
And
which was
so-
really good, by the way.
You do have the Black Stars as something, but again, it's all, you're left off balance. But it's to me, I like a mystery where there's some clues. Like the idea, a mystery to me, I guess it's the not giving info does not a mystery make for me. A mystery is you have info and have to figure out what it means. I don't think we're getting much info in this part with Hal and Joe. It just ends up with, hey, what's going on? What did you do? Hey, you were there, Hal. Well, what happened? I'm like, why are we doing this? Why
She's
are
saying
we
to Hal,
starting
like,
this?
don't let the black hand or whatever it is control you. I don't want to hurt you. And he's like, I wish you
I
could.
wish you could. I'm kind of into it. And even that, at first, when I first read it, I thought he said, I wish I could. But he's like, no, he wished that she could hurt him because I think he just wants to end it at this point. But he said, it won't let you. Just go, Joe. Get out while you can. And she says, I can't just leave you here. We need to fix this. Come on, Hal, look what you did. And he's like, what I did. But he's going
What
back
I did?
between. And when he says that, all of a sudden, black, you end up having the black word bubble where it's kind of like creeping up his arm as well and consuming him. But then you have this
I meant to ask you
huge
about that,
black
Jim.
hand.
Has that got like further up his arm than in maybe the first few
seemed
issues?
like
I've not
before,
gone back
right?
and read them, but is it like
It does seem it.
taking over him?
Well, he's suddenly becoming the black arm. He's
Suddenly
not
turns
just a
into
black
manga character
hand.
here, does he?
Yeah, and ended up where Jagron says, hey, guys, what happened with Absolute Superman this week? It wasn't supposed to come out this week, as far as I saw.
Nope.
I think that
Next
they're
week.
just kind of going with whatever schedule it is. And maybe they did have, a little bit of a, hey, let's get this book here and that book there. But as far as I could tell and what I knew, it does usually come out at the same time. But also you've had that at points with some of the other books as well, but I don't think that it was.
Like Hush
Yeah.
2. Oops.
Yeah, and Jack ends up saying, this wave of books didn't draw me in with the concepts like the first 3, but these books needed to hit the ground running right away and didn't. I dropped Martian Manhunter, and this one kept Flash because of Lemire, and that's what I'm saying. I like you'll have a lot of people who probably stay with this one because they're Al Ewing fans. I get that.
Yeah.
But when I'm reading it, while we're reviewing it, and saying, okay, this is the best issue, I don't know that either of us would still be reading it if we weren't doing this podcast. We might kind of, because we're reviewing it. If we're just regular schmoes, schmoes, we're just guys, Jim
calling me a schmo now?
Jim and Gray, lunchbox, pale guys, and we're like, hey, what's on your pull list? I don't think I would have this on my pull list because
Joe
it's just
Schmo.
not doing enough interesting. It's just like a mystery wrapped in an enigma with the whisper down the lane with a whatever. But yeah, you have Hal where all of a sudden the black hand just comes out of him, and it's like this huge stretch deal that goes and
Pretty
grabs
awesome image,
Joe.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
cool. It looks like, elongated man or a plastic man, but it ends up then smashing Joe. But she does have this construct bubble around, and she goes, what? And he keeps saying he is mad. The idea where she says, I can't leave you. We need to fix this. Come on, Hal, look what you did. And he goes, what I did? And he
It's like kids in the playground, isn't it? No, it's like, me. No, it was you.
Yeah,
You started it, Jim. You started it.
it looks like it tried to kill Joe. Now, is it that it's a full entity that's taking over Hal, or did he get mad at what she said and just overdid it? But boy, when he comes out of this, he just looks like, I don't know what. He is completely overtaken. Now it looks straight out of like a manga. Or
It's reminding me of something like, I'm trying to think what it is.
I'm telling you, what it
Yeah.
looks like to me, I can't put my finger on it either, but it does remind me of an anime that I think I saw in the 90s. But I can't put my head on
that
it
kind
because
of
of
stylistic look to it.
how his head is kind of like half in there and whatever. But he says, what happened to Evergreen, Joe? Saying basically, at first I thought that it was Hal saying, well, what happened? Because I'm upset. It seems that it's this black hand combined thing of like, you think I messed things up? What happened in Evergreen? Because you're the one who messed it up. But the mess up feels like by the time we get to it, the mess up feels
Eventually,
like
Jim.
a good thing, right? I mean,
does,
as we go
yeah.
forward, the mess up, but is
Well,
that
does
good
it?
to a black hand? I don't know. Because then we do go back and you're in Evergreen when all this was going down. And we do get through the actions and the dialogue and things like that. That remember where they were like, hey, we can toss this ring through. And hey, if we paint this and we get that and we go with that.
We get our first dodgy face as well.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that's chatting to Joe here in the
Yeah,
bar?
I think it's Jason when they end up talking to him
Jason?
before.
Is he in this comic book? Shout out to Sue42.
Yeah, Jason. But the idea too is where they usually have, at the beginning of the Green Lantern stuff, that imperfection for the yellow, they have figured out that anything that's kind of a fake gold can go through. And you end up having that being important for them to then decide, okay, well, we're going to get bullets. We're going to kind of paint them gold and we're going to shoot this Abin Sur because they think he's a murderer. But nothing's really played out right away. They're just kind of like there and like, hey, what do you
I
think
got
happened?
confused as well, Jim. I know we always say like I am a dummy, but when who was it? When Jason says I'm way ahead of you, Sojourner, I was like, so who
Well,
the hell's
that's her name.
Sojourner?
That's
What's
it.
that? I didn't know that was
Yeah.
Joe's full
Yeah,
name.
that's Joe's full name.
No
It's
idea.
such a weird, it's Sojourner Mullins.
Sojourner.
It's such a weird name, but yeah,
Sojourner man.
that's her name. But yeah, he's like there and like, okay, they thought everybody had run back to their houses and were kind of hiding out. So they end up like, yeah, Abby, I thought she just went back to her house. And like, oh, no. I went there to see how she was. And when I got there, nobody was there. She done got. But they don't know what that means. That's what I'm saying.
She done got.
She done got.
Is that American English?
It's kind of. But yeah, so the whole play then is we have to kill this, what is pretty much a bare-butted Abin Sur. I mean, Abin Sur, the one thing that this guy does not mind is getting his butt cheeks looked at by me, I guess. But they're also, again, there's little things.
Pretty
But
muscular butt cheeks
Yeah,
too.
they
I've
are.
got
I
to say,
mean,
I'm quite
seriously.
impressed.
He's got like 4 arms, but what I'm looking at is maybe his 3rd leg. But you end up where all this going down. I think that when I'm reading again, I think that Al Ewing is being too subtle with a lot of things. They have something planned. Joe's getting drunk because she has to go and talk to Abin Sur, but you don't really get that. Hal comes out with a gun. I don't know where he got, like, his face in the thing is barely even got detail. It looks ridiculous. She goes
Look at
out.
Jason behind him. He looks really dodgy. It's
Yeah.
SSUS, Jim.
Yeah,
He's sus.
he is
What's he
sus.
going to do to
He's
Hal?
like Gabe. So he ends up where it's like, hey, and she goes out, Abin Sur, I want to talk to you. And then that's when you have the chase, and Hal's like, cross your fingers, and everything else. I'm like, yeah. And
So it
then
looks
they
like
go,
they're using Joe as a distraction, aren't they?
yeah,
While Hal's
yep.
going to shoot Abin Sur. That's the plan.
And the weird thing is Abin, but again, I think that he's not giving us enough information. When you read
No,
it,
he's
you
not.
can fill in. But the idea where they thought that she would go out there, say, hey there, Abin Sur, with your bare butt. What you
Got some
doing?
questions.
And, yeah, and that he wouldn't respond. That he'd be like, well, first off, I'd be scared shitless if he was going to go, you have now been judged. Like, oh, crap. But
Oh,
she
no.
goes out. He starts to react. And they weren't expecting that. So you end up having the guy with Hal's like, take the shot, dude. And he's like, I can't. They're talking. Because you have Joe say,
They're actually communicating, because
Yeah.
up until now, it's been very miscommunication,
Yeah,
hasn't
yeah.
it? You know,
It's
not
been a
able to
lot
make
of, like-
themselves understood.
it felt like a lot of what Abin Sur has been doing is showing up, saying statements, disintegrating people, and leaving.
Yeah.
And she says
That's
that,
it.
but she says, why? Why'd you kill them? And right away, like, he's confused. He goes, them all? I don't have understanding. And then they're like, oh my God. And this is where, Hal is shaking. He doesn't want to go. But it's like, wait a minute. Joe's got the hard part. I'm not scared, but why are they talking? He's like, oh. I love where Abin's just like, oh, you mean those assholes before? Oh, yeah. Like, yeah, a couple of them did die. And he's like, a couple of them had to die because the one shot me, killed somebody else. I had to do that. I had to get them done. They attacked. They shouldn't have. So
the
I
first one
ended
was an
there.
accident, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a motorcyclist. As that
Yeah,
weird
yeah.
dome came down, it just splatted onto
I
it,
love
didn't
that
it?
we now know it's Jason Simmons. I was like,
Jason Simmons,
that
where
was
are you now?
That was something that I was really worried that we wouldn't know. Poor Jason Simmons, pour one out for his, and says basically what says is Arnold in Twins, kind of like the idea that the gravity was his enemy. The pavement was his, like, he's like, oh, I didn't kill him. It was the barrier and his relative speed when he hit it. And then says the other one, existence ended for Rita Powell as a considered judgment. To me, you're already gray area, because I still think that the idea that you are an alien that comes down, looks like you're killing people anyway, and a policeman takes a shot, you still killed the person. It was very odd, but says as her chaotic action ended existence. So she's saying Beatrice Coles died because of Rita Powell. So eye for an eye. But why are you the one who judges that? I don't like that. I don't like that he says, well, she ended up firing at me. I put up a barrier. So my barrier deflected the bullet and then killed this Beatrice. So I had to kill Rita Powell. I'm like, I don't know how that goes that
It's a
way.
bit
but
strict, Jim, isn't
yeah,
it? It's like,
yeah.
flipping out,
Yeah, I'm
it
like,
wasn't really. It was your fault,
Yeah,
Abin
I'm
Sur,
saying,
really.
don't put up the
Kind of.
barrier, or don't come in with your forearms and bare butt and start talking shit, right? Come out with something going on, but says, oh, and then says no other existence was deleted, that it didn't happen. She goes, well, what? And this is the thing that gets me. He says continued chaotic action was unacceptable. No other existence has ended as an action of this Abin Sur. Now, think of what he's saying. He's not saying they're alive. I mean, I think they are because of what he says, but he's not saying he's saying I didn't kill them. Abin Sur did not kill them. And then we find out what he says is they got sent to Oa. That doesn't mean they're alive or will remain alive, because they're still being judged. He says they're still being judged. It's second phase or whatever. So we may find out that guy ends up dead. I don't think John will be, but again,
Guy Gardner, Jon Stewart, Abigail Cable, and 2,809 other
Yeah.
existences have not ended, Jim.
Abby Cable, that's a big name drop,
That's a
but
shout-out,
it's a
isn't it?
weird one for a Green Lantern book. Having Abigail
Where's the
Cable
connection?
in it. Yeah, with
Because
Matt
is it the
Cable's daughter.
green Swamp Thing?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's a crazy play, but it's part of the green, part of the flame, so it's kind of a neat play. But again, it's so it's so not spelled out, and it's just like, okay, the green now. Actually, I think Abigail Cable is a cool idea to mention, but I think it might make things a little more convoluted again, because now we're throwing in the green because it's Green Lantern. And I'm like, okay, but
This whole time, if it is Jason, the guy with a weird face, he's still trying to get Hal to shoot. It's like, Hal, she's clear, Joe's she's got away, like, take a shot.
yeah,
Nope,
yeah.
he doesn't
So
do it.
that was the big play, is that he doesn't want to. He's like, they're talking now. This is pretty big.
They're talking, they're
yeah.
still alive,
Yeah,
possibly.
And I don't know. I mean, we're getting the Abin Sur talking and then saying those who disappeared, those that I said they went to Oa. Again, you're like, okay, that's cool, but I don't know. It's weird. I don't know that Oa is what we think
Yeah,
Oa
what
is
does it
in
mean
this.
in this
I
absolute
mean,
universe?
we could find out that Oa is just.
Is it like limbo?
Yeah, that's
Is it
what I'm
like
saying.
A
Like
giant
it could be
spaceship?
hell. It could be a spaceship. It could
God,
be,
yeah.
you could change, and that's where I'm always left a little bit off in this, thinking, okay, well, that feels cool at surface, but when he says, he's very particular of saying Abin Sur did not kill them. I'm like, now he's Ricky Henderson, the third person, but he ends up with all this
I
stuff.
like
going
this, Jim,
on.
as well. This explains it for me, like for someone who doesn't know the law. I didn't know OA stood for Omega Alpha. Omega Alpha. They're in the second stage. Judgment remains in progress.
See, that's what I'm saying. That doesn't mean they're safe or you know
No.
whatever. It's cool that it feels like they're being in the next phase of becoming Green Lanterns, but in the meantime, Joe is kind of taking it for herself. But again, if you're going to play the idea, Joe Sojourner Mullins in the Far Sector book, she had a ring that wasn't the same. It was different. They kind of went about, and it wasn't explained in my mind that great, but you did have that different deal while you have Guy and Abigail and John on Oa maybe becoming proper Green Lanterns. She feels like she's taking more of a grab of the flame, like almost like an Alan Scott thing, but it just plays out really odd. I'm just going back to the chat a second where
I'm just
Jack
looking
says,
too.
one problem with this book is that it pales when compared to the two series in the regular continuity. That's true. I agree with that. I really, right now, I'll go with Jack where I think that he might even be thinking the same thing. What I think of right when he says that is the idea that people are able to look past a lot of things in the Ultimate Spider-Man. When you have the Ultimate, Spider-Man at Marvel, it's so much better than Amazing Spider-Man that you're able to kind of let it lie, wait till things happen and whatnot. So when you end up having these things going down, it is something. And Matt Fisher with a $10 super chat, which I really thank. And I wondered what happened. I actually thought, I tell you,
God,
Matt.
hope you're okay,
yeah,
man.
Matt, I thought that you actually got mad at something I said because he was here at some of the things for a while and then just disappeared. He said, I've returned. I was in the hospital. They thought
my
I was
God.
having a stroke. I am okay. Don't forget to play the song. Also, Guns N' Roses had one good album and Knocking on Heaven's Door. See, that's the thing. I really like Civil
Ooh.
War as well. It was a
Harsh.
single. And yeah. Use Your Illusion 1 and 2.
I still like You Could Be Mine. I think it's a cracker. I don't
Yeah,
care. I
that
know
is.
it's a Terminator 2 soundtrack, but I loved it.
I go with the same idea too with the Use Your Illusion 1 or 2, almost like me and you have talked about it. I'm not saying they're equal, but we have talked about the idea of the White Album with the Beatles.
Yeah,
and
it's the similar thing, isn't it?
ended up getting 11 songs, you can make one of the greatest out. And I think the same thing with Use Your Illusion 1 or 2. They just, again, this is why grunge happened. It's because things say Axl Rose went too crazy, but we're
He
back
did.
to here. And Jagron says
It's the music show, and
Lane
happy 4th,
says-
everybody who's out there,
Yeah.
who's in the States.
I love
Good to
Guns-
see Fear
yeah.
Monarch and Edward as well in the chat.
Yeah, it actually seems like we were worried when we started out this week that people had ditched us. It's a lot of old faces.
Of course,
Also,
Jim, it's the 4th of July. It's
I
a
love-
holiday, for goodness sake.
I love Guns N' Roses as well. I'm a big fan. But also,
I
just
do.
a shout out, Oasis started their tour of the world today. Their world tour kicked off, and I'm a big Oasis fan as well. But back to the book again. The idea that he ends up saying disintegrated, and I get it. He doesn't understand the lingo at points. So he's like, I don't understand whatever, and goes disintegrated, taken apart, broken into constituent molecules, strong implications of end state. Like he's actually, instead of the ring seemingly giving him information, he's just talking like a robot.
No,
He's
I've got to say,
talking like
Jim, though, I do
Small
wanna shout
Wonder
out
back in
Al
the day.
Ewing here. I like the voice he's got for him. He does sound kind of alien. It's like,
Well, he does.
some other being trying to communicate in English. I think
But-
it's pretty good.
Again, it's like when me and you are talking, and we were talking last week's podcast, and you hopefully will have time. You're going to do the beginning and end. People like it. So I end up saying, hey, like ranch dressing. And you're like, I don't know what that is. I felt like you were an alien, just like I was sure. But that would be like them me saying ranch dressing, Hidden Valley. Like it's just a weird way he says it. But you do get that almost like he's the ring itself, that he is in this. Instead of it just being the Abin Sur that we're thinking he is, he more feels like he might be part of the living flame, the green, and that might explain Abigail, but also the idea of what happens with Joe. Because says,
Oh, yeah.
have understandings that did not occur. Guy Gardner, John Stewart, Abigail Cable, and 2,809 other existences have not ended. So it's not just the ones we saw. They are there, and this feels like, if this is what they're saying, is the entire Green Lantern Corps needed to be replenished, replaced, and that's what they've been doing. Guy Gardner, John Stewart, Abigail Cable might be the ones from Earth, or
Ooh.
might be all of them from Earth, which would be the
Abby
greatest.
Cable could be a very interesting Green Lantern, couldn't she?
What I need to do, what I want, I hope Al Ewing's doing it. What he's saying is, now we have legit 2,800 and what, like 12 Earth lanterns. So nobody can complain that in the regular continuity there's too many Earth lanterns, because in this we have over 2,800 of them. But that's not what I think it means. But I do think
they're not all going to make the grade, Jim. And what happens if they don't?
Well, that's
do they
what
get
I'm
put
saying.
Back on Earth?
I don't
or
know.
Are they gone?
So he says and it says it again. Everything that goes on with Abin Sur almost feels spiritual. Like, he ends up like, they exist on Oa. The guy is very dramatic. And he's like, they exist on Oa. They are within the Omega Alpha. They are in the second stage, the judgment. And like, what's going on? But Hal's like, be quiet. We're getting info. We're finding out things.
Communicating. They're talking.
Yeah. In this moment, I think Hal should shoot him. But he says he's
maybe we don't need
talking.
the gold bullets, Jim. That's the point. The whole time they've made somehow gold bullets.
Yeah.
I think the gold can affect or can
affect
kill.
him.
Maybe.
Yeah. Because again,
So-
I think they're playing with the yellow imperfection and
Yeah.
the things like that. Also, you are playing with when Hal says to Joe about, hey, you can't hurt me, it won't allow you, kind of playing with the the failsafe that's in there, that the lanterns can't kill or harm people. So ends up where says everything could end right here. And then you go to the current Hal, it was a monstrosity, says it could, and it did. Because then you just have this weird play where he starts saying, and this is a big thing, you're talking Weaponers of Quard, something that Eric hates, but that ties in a lot with Sinestro and how the yellow ended up happening. These are classic, real early. I mean, the first 8 issues of Green Lantern, Alan Scott, even the idea was the Weaponers of Quard. And then when you go back to Hal and having Sinestro involved with it, but ends up saying, be with fear, fear Quard, the Weaponers of Quard, and says, now you have understanding, judgment is in process. And she says, wait, what do you mean have no fear? And he's going to get out of it.
No, she's like, wait, what do you mean be with fear?
Yeah,
because,
be with fear, yeah.
Up until now, he's been saying be without fear. Yeah. That's his big entrance line.
Yeah,
Isn't it, Jim?
and so what he's saying is, I mean, the idea that maybe it's like he says, be with fear, and he's
warning
saying
about
is,
the Weaponers of
you
Quard.
better be afraid of the Weaponers of Quard. They are bad. And she didn't get the way he said it was wonky, so she ends up saying, what do you mean? What do you mean? Be with fear. He's saying beware of them. I think she'd be able
now
to figure
you have
this out.
understanding, and we're all going, no, she doesn't. She
Yeah,
doesn't know what you're talking
And
about.
I'm sitting there. She should have been like, okay, I get
What do
it.
you mean?
Judgment is in progress. He's like, judgment done. You're a moron. But yeah, and then you end up where, again, Hal's there in that way. I'm telling you, he looks straight out of a horror manga. And he says, and what happened then, Joe? What did you do? I'm like,
what did you do?
You could have just shown us a flashback. You didn't need this nonsense. But ends up saying that she reached out. She reached out to stop him by him going unsolid, but her wedding ring that she had, the gold ring, went in and seemingly grabbed the flame, grabbed the green. And that ends up where that's how she ended up becoming
some
this.
of the green. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a cool scene, though. We get a great double page spread here, don't we?
Yeah.
Again, shout out to the artist. It's his best issue so far.
Yep. And it says he was going to become a ball of light and fly up to the sky and not answer anything. So I reached out instinctively, not thinking. I didn't have understanding. And then she says, I didn't grab him. I went into his unsolid form with the ring, and the ring ended up grabbing. Said my ring went into the green flame. And my wedding ring was solid gold, like the ring John through the barrier.
Ooh, fancy. Mine isn't, Jim.
Yeah, and not, really. Mine's like tin. It shouldn't even, it's not worth shit.
Tin
And now,
foil.
I'm telling you, mine doesn't even anything. And now it was inside him and was inside the light. So she ends up grabbing it, and it did feel like, again, because she has that weird other type of ring. I mean, that, in my mind, when you did a Far Sector, it was so you could explain why things were different, why you didn't have the Guardian showing up and all that stuff, but it also plays in
She's
with
saying the ring was inside him, and I was inside the light.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the light, Jim.
And that's what
Go
she
towards
got.
the light.
And then I like where he says chaotic action, anomaly, and she has the green just going through her all
Well,
around
he's collapsed,
her.
hasn't he? He's on the floor.
Yeah.
He's like pointing out. He looks in trouble.
Yeah. Well,
He's not
who's in
dead,
trouble,
but-
or anybody under that damn ship up there? Because
That's
yeah,
it,
he ends
yeah.
up where
Oh
it
my
seems
God.
like again like a tie-in of the flame, but also kind of the tie-in of when Abin Sur came and gave the ring to Hal. This play of her having this, which then ends up making the ship fall, because I think that he may end up, dying. He
The
may end
ship
up
loses
not
power.
having.
It says the flame went out. Joe
Yeah,
absorbed the
yeah.
flame. The ship is coming down, and it's huge. And what a landing
Yeah,
it
and
makes.
I think that Abin Sur's done. You got the
I
info
do.
from him. He didn't need to be shot because she actually took the flame from him, and he's done. And then you end up where the ship comes crashing down and just destroys everything. Again, that's why Blackhand Hal says, "What did you do, Joe? You're the one who messed things up. You
It's all
did
your
that."
fault, Joe. Don't be
Yeah,
blaming me.
and again, I mean, it's nobody's fault, but it did happen. And again, it explains why the big Green Lantern
Finally, we get
symbol ship
explanation,
is
don't we,
there.
Jim? The
We
first
know
issue.
that, as far as we can tell, that John Stewart and Guy Gardner are alive. They're just being tested still, and not being tested on, but it seems like going through like a trial to become a Green Lantern, possibly. And then you also even have like Tomar Ray. You have a couple people being shown in that spread page, which is pretty cool. But he also says, "Beware of the weaponers of quartz." So there's some things there. It's just, it's still not. It still this feels like we're being told things that we should have known something to go forward, because I still don't know the overall thing with Hal and that nonsense he's dealing with, and then what it means for Joe, and it's just everything is up in the air still. It's not progressing in any sort of coherent way in my mind, but this is the best. And then when that's going down, then we end up having people show up. I thought it was going to be Lazarus. It's not. They even say, "Hey, Lazarus, find out." No, they're dealing with what with the wink wink of that. And it basically
Say no
is,
more,
right?
say no more.
It's basically like they're dealing with their ongoing situation. And then, I see. Oh, that's good. Well, what about the security perimeter? We'll do this. And then that ends up, again, being a cool it's Hector Hammond. But is that cool with this? Because what does it mean?
Jim, is it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
there he is. I don't.
He shouts out like we've got our own little Gateway City event happening right here in Nevada.
Yeah, and
Shout out to Gateway City.
yeah, and in my mind, it's funny is that Al Ewing will be trying to be so clever that what he'll explain at some point is Hector Hammond usually has a big head, right? But that in this, it just means he's pompous. And he look at that big-headed jerk, because he thinks because that's how he comes off.
Look at his fancy gold ring. He's got two, hasn't he? Look at the big one there on his middle finger.
Look at his kerchief here. Look at this guy. And he ends up like, "Ed, as of now, it belongs to Hector Hammond." I want somebody to go, you always keep mentioning your name. Like, you don't have to say your name. We know who you are, dude. And like, they don't, though.
It's like Japanese children. They always they speak about themselves in the third person.
Yeah.
They say the name when they're young.
Exactly. What a bunch of wackos. Izuku!
Wacky sashes.
Izuku! Yeah.
I'm too behind.
So all this nonsense. But by the end, I don't know. I end up where you did get some answers. Not answers. It's weird. You got some info. I don't know that it's quite answers. We do find out that the Guy and John are not dead. I'm not so sure they're alive. I think they are, but it's not like it's an answer that way. You know what I mean? It's like you're getting things, but you're not, but you are. And
Jim, what do you think in the chat? Ed was asking, do you think the chick with Hector Hammond might be Carol Ferris? Question mark.
Maybe. Actually, I would probably say yeah. I would say that it definitely is. I'd also say that those other two guys are nobodies. But I think that might be. See, and then that would be the deal. Like, that would be cool if he's like, "Hey there, Carol, what's up?" And she's like, "Hey, I feel very sapphire-y." I don't know. She's actually wearing almost like the colors of the Star Sapphire, her little, her smart little pants skirt, business skirt thing. Who knows?
Didn't know you were a fashion aficionado.
Look at me here. Again, also, Hector looks like that one hand is not real. It looks like he's got a fake hand that when you go to shake it, it like pulls off, and he thinks he's funny because he got his hand cut off. But that definitely doesn't look like a real hand.
It's like the Batman '89 movie, isn't it? Jack Nicholson's Joker. "Hey, let me give you a hand."
Yeah, exactly. That's what it feels like. So we'll have to see. But it's a weird play. Edward ends up saying in a $5 super chat, "Thank you," says Jim. "Did you hit the buffet this week for your birthday cheat day? Happy 4th all. Shout out to Gray." The answer of that is no. No, and in fact, I talk about it on one of the things this week, and I will be trying to. I'll have the spotlight, the Patreon spotlight will be done today. But I'm also going to be done the actual podcast tonight with Gray, and then I'm going to try to get that out early tomorrow. But I think I do mention, I'll probably mention it anyway if I didn't.
Just to shout out, Jim, if you scroll up a little bit in the chat, Matt Fisher dropped another $5
my
super
goodness
chat. Say,
gracious.
no, Jim, you don't upset me.
Okay,
only Wes can do that.
Yeah, I didn't even see that, but yeah,
Classic.
the deal is, I just thought that we had offended you, man. I'm glad we didn't.
I'm just glad you're okay, mate.
Yeah, and Edward, I didn't go to the buffet. The Shady Maple, no, because I wanted to, but nobody would go. We ended up getting pizza. They asked, what do you want? I said, well, we're going to have a couple of people there with our kids. I said, get a plain pizza, a pepperoni, and a cheesesteak pizza. And Zach got a Hawaiian pizza. And then everybody made fun of him the whole time while eating the Hawaiian pizza going, man, this is a weird tasting cheesesteak pizza. And then Zach got mad and almost threw it off his porch. That's what happened. It was the
reason why people won't go to the buffet with Jim, ladies and gentlemen, do you know this? Here we go. It's because, would you go to the buffet with someone who puts potato salad up the sleeve?
Yeah, that's true. Also, don't ever go. Like, if you go with anybody to the buffet,
so funny when I heard that.
And they end up where, like, they're like, hey, oh, right, they have mashed potatoes. Never go back to the buffet with that person. You don't eat the mashed potatoes. You don't get bread. None of that nonsense. My
What's
son,
wrong with mashed potatoes,
that's
Jim?
not what you get at a buffet. That is filler. You can get mashed potatoes. I can make you mashed potatoes at any point, any time. My son Ethan would go, and it's a big buffet. It's the biggest in the world, they claim, or at least the United States.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's huge. And when you go, Ethan's like, oh, right, they have chicken fingers. I'm like, you son of a chicken fingers. I'm like, you can have that at any time. I'm looking too. Brandon has shown up, so hello, Brandon. And Brandon ends up saying the story is the opposite of Absolute Martian Manhunter. This one has no story. The book has a story, and I don't care. Brandon hates...
Brandon's not impressed with
Brandon
this.
hates Absolute Martian Manhunter more than us. He hates it so much. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. You do get some parts and some info in this issue, but I don't know that I care.
Finally, it's taking a long
I don't
time.
know if I care.
Is it taken too long, Jim, to get here to this point?
I think it might have. I think it might
4
be.
issues.
So in that, you end up where you say it's the best issue. We're going to get our scores in a minute.
Yeah.
You have
I'm trying to think what to give it.
Jagron says, Ultimate Spider-Man, I feel like they're leading to telling us, hey, this is why Peter Parker can't be married or have kids, because this would happen. That might happen. I said a long time ago that I thought that Richard was going to die. Gray knows I said it. Brandon says, hello, Gray and Jim. I'm riding high in the news. We are getting 32 plus issues of Absolute Batman at minimum. It's because people are freaking out. They're doing an event too quick and people were freaking out. So that's good too. And then, that's where Edward said he thinks that's Carol Ferris. I do as well. Brandon also, Fear Monarch says, damn, I'm always the last to hear about actual ongoing news. Same here. And I did see that Fear Monarch ended up getting a bunch of volumes of Dandadan, which is awesome. One of my favorite. And Gigi and Dandadan, one of my favorite characters of all time.
Gigi?
Gigi. Yeah, he's awesome. He makes all these meme poses and stuff. And Brandon says, when Hal opens a temporary hole in the dome, I just let out, who cares? After the gold weakness, I rolled my eyes. Pineapple pizza slap, says Fear Monarch. It was okay. I just wanted a cheesesteak pizza and really ended up where I thought that the Hawaiian pizza that we had,
Edward says Hawaiian pizza equals war crime, Jim.
I'm telling you,
Jim.
It was really salty too, and my blood pressure is not great right now. I've mentioned that on some things. My blood pressure the last time I took it was 190 over 130, and it told me in the machine.
What are you doing?
The machine at Walmart actually told me to leave and go to the emergency room. I'm like, I don't think I'll do that. And Brandon says Al's in the town and giving us breadcrumbs of a story, and I still don't know if I really care why Hal doesn't like Joe.
That's it. Is it too little, too late? Yeah.
And then he says, I hate Absolute Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern is pretty close to coming off my pull list. I just don't get the story if he doesn't get it soon. And then Jack, another super chat, says, thanks for working on the holiday. Very fun. I'm hanging with my dogs, dealing with the boomers. Keep it wacky. Yeah, I ended up, this is my second live stream today. What do you think of that, Gray? I ended up doing a barbecue dance party earlier on Sus Records, so take that.
Did you?
Yeah,
when I was sleeping in Japan?
It was okay. I'm telling you.
Goodness gracious.
I have a Tuesday night live stream with the Sus Records that's just like this little battle thing, and ended up having like 1,200 people show. It was unbelievable. Oh, my goodness. And not as much at the barbecue today. But you say, so how badly will Batman #1 coming out before Hush 2 finish part 1 will screw stuff up? I don't think it'll screw anything because it's not dealing with it. I do have inside info, though, about
It's its own
certain
thing, isn't it? The
things.
Hush
Yeah,
storyline. It's
yeah.
kind of like an Elseworlds almost.
I'll tell you.
I think.
I'll tell you
I
one
think.
thing. What I've been told by somebody who's in the know, that when Batman comes back, there's going to be a little bit of a younger Batman thing going on. That you're going to end up maybe playing a weird thing. But
really?
one of the big things that supposedly what Matt Fraction said is that he refuses to let Batman lose Gotham the way he has been losing it recently. So that'll be pretty good. And then says, hey, not for the stream, but whether later tonight if Gray is doing his own review stream or if the weekend how is Spider-Gwen now replacing main Gwen in 616 universe. Continuity screwed up. Brandon says, I don't know. Are you doing a live
I'm
stream?
not reading it. No idea.
And-
about the live stream, I don't know, Jim. I've got a busy
Yeah, you got a
jiu-jitsu
busy
morning.
deal.
So.
So, and Brandon
Yeah.
said, Jim, my blood pressure spikes from my Death Wish coffee or anything Tom King. I'll say I was having a bad day, so maybe it wasn't. Bats one sounds mid, but there's a slick Silvestri cover that I'm down for. I'm the one guy, I don't like that Silvestri. I'm not a big fan, but that's that. But what would you give this?
Well, I've been trying to work out my score. You know, I always do focus on positives. I'm kind of famous for that now. So I did like this issue the most of the four so far. I'm going to give it a 7. 7 out of 10 from me.
I'm a 6 because we did
Okay.
get some info, and but that can't go up. I would even go down to a 5.5. But because we did get a little bit
Brandon's
of
asking for Sammy.
I know. I actually at one point, but I end up where this issue was
This was
probably
much
the
better than
better
the last
one
three, Jim,
of the
I thought.
others. But yeah. He knows what I gave the last Martian Manhunter. I wasn't so impressed with that. But this is like one of those where I think that we're getting somewhere. We just have to get there quicker. I don't think we will. I don't think we'll get anywhere quicker because he seems to be just taking his time, and it feels odd. It feels completely odd, this book, where it just doesn't fit in anything but I don't see where it's going because you're not even doing a story. You're just trying to explain what's happening to the people in it. But I'm intrigued by what happened to Joe. I think that's kind of a cool play. Abigail being mentioned actually intrigues me as well. I could give a rat's ass what's going on with. I don't even know what's happening with Hal Jordan right now. You know what I'm saying? Like that whole thing, I'm not even worried about because it's so
Did
ridiculous.
you say rat's ass, Jim?
I said a rat's ass.
I could
give a rat's ass, but I think the Joe stuff is interesting. And as was it Brandon who said it? The idea of why Hal hates, I don't care. But I like the idea of the living flame. I like the mention of the Weaponers of Quartz. See how that goes. Hector Hammond, that's weird. But even Edward saying about Carol possibly
Abby
being
Cable,
in it.
I think
that's interesting though.
Yeah,
that might
possibly
be something that is that could play out. But I just Al Ewing I don't know. I think that he writes as if he's smarter or thinks he's smarter than what comes out on the page a lot of times, and it's just kind of wacky. But that's that. That is it. We liked it a little more. Brandon, he hates it. I'm telling you, again, he says Absolute Lantern is the ultimate Wolverine of the All-In. I said that Ultimate Wolverine, I didn't like it from the get-go and thought it was...
No.
There it is. Actually,
started
Brandon
moving, Jim,
said it.
The last couple of issues, finally.
Now, Brandon's fine. Somebody's there to actually check the receipts here. Because he says, Jim got Ultimate Wolverine right on day one. I did. I ended up where people, and a lot of people here, do watch the aficionados. I legit wasn't on that week of the aficionados and was so upset about that book that I did a super chat just so I could make it, though, so that it was on record. And I said, it's garbage. Everybody fought with me. And now
you just like being told that you were right.
Now
Jim was
great.
right. He was right.
Yeah, and then Edward says, Green Lantern is waiting for the maker. It'd be great. Jim on Hot or Not show went off. There you go, too. He also heard me yell. I went off on that. Telling you.
Did you?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
now,
On that Hot
for
or
a
Not
change.
show. That I'll tell you, Brandon probably will agree. There's times where I get I tell you all the time where I'm like, I got so mad. And you're like, yeah, I bet you did. I get so mad sometimes that I start screaming and yelling and start yelling about Joe Casey and those crazy sunglasses. Yeah, Brandon said you can tell that when I'm on the deal, I know that, I don't have to watch my P's and Q's. So I get all angry. I'm very miserable on that, though. I get very angry, and it takes it all out of me. It takes all the hate. It takes it out of me, Bun. I wasn't
Unfortunately,
on.
I'm too poor to be able to listen
Yeah,
to that
really.
show.
Well, that's the thing. I can't even afford to
It's
listen to the show
out of
I'm
price
on.
range.
That's the thing. I can't even listen to what I'm on. But I know what I said. But yeah, so all that I couldn't be on this week because I was not around. Fear Monarch said, I'll give Jim a birthday gift. He was right about Deadly Duo. If I'm going to be fair and give White Knight shit for its inconsistencies. Yeah, that Deadly Duo was a wreck. People
It wasn't the best story, but the art. Come on.
But this is the thing. People grabbed onto that because it was at the point where everything else was quote unquote woke and you were doing this and that. And they grabbed on it because it was a book that just was, but it wasn't good. And they were using it, almost putting it on a pedestal because people were liking it because of what it wasn't, not what it was. And it
was
drove
better than the regular
me
at that
nuts.
time, the regular Batman book. I think that's why, wasn't it? That was really bad.
Says you.
Says
Ask
me.
Fear Monarch. That Deadly Duo made no damn sense throughout. You had things going on that just did not make sense in any reality, including a comic book reality.
He didn't wrap it up well at all. No.
Yeah, that thing of she's like, the dead and all this, and then they had a safety deposit box. I'm like, how did they go to that? What, did she get a zombie to walk into that fucking bank and get that stuff? I'm so angry. Now I'm cursing. This is what happens. I get angry. Yeah, me and Eric reviewed every issue, and we lost it. We were like, "This is garbage." But yeah, and again, I will say it once more for all of you haters. Again, I don't mind if you like it, but if you liked it for whatever, but I think that people liked it for what it wasn't, not what it was. They said, "Oh, this isn't that. This isn't," and the story fell apart. Yep. Deadly Duo is like but that's the thing, Brandon. I'm telling you, when I argued with people to this day, they won't just say it looked great in the story, like Gray's saying. That they said, "Oh no, the story was great. It was great." Then again, I got in a fight with Wes the other day because in this one chat thing we're in, he ends up saying, Sam Humphries, he had a really good Nightwing story. I'm like, that story with the judge, that story sucked. And then I'll tell you, just as the receipts too, ended up where people were making fun of me. And then I looked back and me and Josh both gave it awful reviews when it came out. And Josh was suddenly saying that he liked it. And I caught him in a lie. But there you go. And then says, Brandon says it was obvious the story was terrible. It was so bad.
Jim is like an elephant, folks. He never forgets.
No, I have a list of grievances.
I'm terrible.
Yeah.
If somebody wrongs me, that's it for life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be
And
careful.
Brandon Singh defended it, not Deadly. If it's Eric Shea and Deadly Duo, not, but it might have been, Eric, another Eric, but it was bad. But all of that is it. So thanks, everybody. We do have 2 songs to come out of here, obviously. We end up having Gray's song, but Brandon showed up, so we also have The Wall, which if you want to see something funny as a last bit, go and read if you have read the awful Godzilla, Kong, Justice League, that nonsense, go and read the Dispatch DCU, the comic book Dispatch review of that even on Roundup. The idea, if you've read that book, you go and read the review, and the guy's going on and on about how Amanda Waller's great in the book. She's dead. Ay. You got to go see that. But I just want to throw shade, Gray, because he's another one who wronged me. I'm going to right all the wrongs here. But we're going to get out of here. Thanks, everybody. Thanks especially to Edward, Jack, and Matt. I'm saying now Matt's going to hate me again. But yeah, Matt and Edward and I'm telling you, I'm going through these. This thing is messing
Thanks, everybody.
me up. Hey, everybody.
Exalt.
No, the thing is, it's going, and I'm trying to thank everybody and everybody in the thing, and now it's frozen. And Jack, yeah, thanks, everybody. So yeah, thank you. And
And anyone on the replay who listens this far, you are fantastic.
You're
We love you.
you're very great and
Are you crazy?
patient. But with that, here we go. Thanks, everybody. We're gonna get out of here. Me and you are gonna do the beginning and end of the regular podcast. So
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you all later.
私はイギリスから日本に引っ越しました。感動して感謝しました。本当に大好きです。私は普通の男ではありません。 私はもう本性の愛です。私にからかわないでください。そうしないとあなたは消えてしまいます。私は普通の男です。でも私はあなたを殺します。だからそのまま受け取ってください。足元に注意した方がいいよ。準備をしてください。そうしないと大変なことになりますよ。私にちゅうとララララ、私はあなたを殺します。私は日本の愛です。あなたは警告されました。
You know, everyone these days has something to be afraid of, but everyone should know what our heroes are made of. But after night terrors and beasts will come and gone, everyone's afraid of both the brains and the brawn. It's all part of her plan. Yeah, Amanda Waller is the man. She's going for absolute power. Yeah, she wants it all. She's going for absolute power. Oh, she's heading for a fall. She's going for absolute power. Somebody stop the wow. Well, it doesn't look good on Earth or out in space. She's got a brainiac queen and a robot failsafe. Better not forget she has her suicide squad. She has brain bombs attached so they don't wander off. It's all part of her plan. She's got the Batman. She's going for absolute power. She wants it all. She's going for absolute power. Oh, she's heading for a fall. She's going for absolute power. Somebody stop the wow. It's all part of her plan.